Hello and welcome everyone to the main event this week. I'm Meeta, Sahni of the main group, and this week my guest is JoEllen Grzyb of the Impact Factory. Welcome back, JoEllen. Hi.
Oh, it's delightful to be here, and particularly, I think you've chosen the best subject for right now.
Women at work.
Relevant.
Yeah. Well, we are summing up, the Jubilee has finally happened, and we were looking at the Queen's 70-year career. And I thought, the Queen must have had some female challenges and live events along the way. And here she is still promising to serve her country. Well, she must have had a lot of support along the way. So I thought, let's lift the lid on how businesses can support women, because there's such, still, I was looking at some statistics this week about the Great Resignation. And, the Great Resignation has impacted women more than men. And the pandemic has pushed women back, in terms of being able to go out to work and to be able to build their careers. So it's a very important topic, the one that we must continue to speak about. Oh, I'm getting some. Thank you, Elena. Definitely a great topic. And hello to everyone. I'll do my quick housekeeping whilst everyone's joining the room. One of the areas that we always feel are important are the interactive nature of our event. So we've got a chat box here on the right. Elena already demonstrating how that works, and I'm just putting a little hello in there as well. So please join in, have questions, ask, give us your comments, and we'll do everything to make sure we answer them. Ultimately, for the next 30 or 40 minutes, the topic should give you tools to take back to your organization and apply straight away. That's our intention and our promise to you. So, JoEllen, how about you? How are you feeling about this topic? What's your angle for today?
Well, my angle, there's so many different angles, but I kind of created the 3 S's of support.
Okay.
If you're looking at how, well, and I think that there's probably another one, which is the S for men, but that doesn't quite work. But it's the system. So let's just take a look at the system.
Yeah.
So the system that you operate within, either your own or, as a manager, is the system supportive of women's issues and things that are very specific to women.
Yeah.
And we have your system within your organization, but also the whole system that we work within. It's still a system and a paradigm and a construct that was created primarily by white males.
Yeah.
And it's not functional in the way it used to be if we want to progress. The second S is around skills. Do you have the right skills? Are you supporting people in getting the skills that they need? And the final one is actually, it's very personal. It's your self-belief. A lot of women still talk about imposter syndrome. And I hear that a lot, still in this day and age. I'm surprised by that. I shouldn't be, I suppose, but I am. And I'm saddened by it.
Yeah, I agree. And, we were talking about sign up for today, and I was saying, I'd want to see these sessions probably the most well received and attended, because, being 50% of the workforce, but actually, being the highest rate of attrition from an organization, there's still, we talk about EDIB and ESG and all the things that make our business organizations great places to work, great for the world, and great, but should also be great in the world, should also be ensuring that they're doing right by their people and their planet. And, we haven't got it right for the female journey. And, just looking at, as I said, the biggest number of people leaving in the Great Resignation was women. Women leave when they're going through fertility treatment. Women leave because they have bad periods and they can't manage and support them. Women leave during maternity because they're having a difficult time. And even though that's, you and I were talking, that's actually the only part of that journey which is actually put down in law, that there has to be a balance and a standard of care and support.
I know it is still that we aren't looking in a way that says, what are the skills that women bring as a gender, really? And they, I don't like stereotyping anybody, but we have to say that there are some generalizations that do remain true. It is often more insightful. It's more emotional to me in a really positive way. it's empathetic. So there are many skills, just personal skills, interpersonal skills that women excel in. And there's still such a prejudice. There's such a mindset that resists, ooh, don't get emotional. And things are structured often, which is to diminish a woman's voice rather than support a woman's voice. And you had that in the blurb. How do we support women having a greater voice? And sometimes when in the training courses we do, we might be looking at body language, something as simple as that. We might be looking at how women are responded to, which is different from how men are responded to. And we start even, I know, I'm sure I've said this before here a while ago, that someone just said to me the other day, oh, my little 5-year-old is such a bossy boots. And I said, if your son did the same thing, would you call him a bossy boots?
Yeah.
No, you'd think of it as strong and leadership. And so from very early on, we categorize women. And I think that leads to the third S around self-belief.
Yeah.
Is that why call someone a bossy boots? If their behavior perhaps is harmful, you might say, oh, you said that a little harshly, but you're developing someone's leadership skills. You're developing their assertiveness skills. You're developing their voice in the world. So you just multiply that over the years, and it reinforces the thing that I am second rate. I am second in this organization.
Yeah. My voice is not as important as my male counterparts.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about imposter syndrome. It's something that I think continually has to be coached and mentored to switch off the negative voices and to remember, one is getting a seat at the table, and two is having a voice at that table, and for that voice to be valued and respected. And actually that brings me to our poll. So our poll is actually asking, what support do women get in your organization? And the 4 options are mentoring and career coaching, which again opens people's eyes to what the potential is, women's eyes to what potential do I have in my career? Not, oh, well, I'm going to get to this point, have my kids, and then I'll see, which a lot of women go through thinking and then literally don't think beyond that.
Yeah.
Fertility support. So that could be egg freezing. It could be time off for IVF. It could be, it could be the soft support of just,
support.
The mentoring and just time to breathe and recover from, personally, I've been through all of this. So I know how hard it is, not just on the body physically, but on one mentally. I think the first time I ever needed any sort of counseling was through IVF. So it is tough. And as professional and as driven as women are and great multitaskers and able to achieve so much more, it's recognizing, that there is just a pause. And I had the main group were fantastic in supporting me. And it's one of the reasons I bought the business, because I thought, gosh, I always say if it wasn't for the main group, I wouldn't have kids.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that I was able to offer that to other females, men and women, going through their careers.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sorry, go ahead.
No. Third option is periods and menopause support. So again, different stages of women's life, but both can be very impactful to the way they can work and the way they deliver their work. It doesn't mean they can't work. It just needs some adjustment. So again, do organizations consider or think about this? And finally, the none. So no support for women in particular. Women get mentoring and career coaching and time off and not everything but the same as their male counterparts. So those are the 4 options. So as you're jumping in, please do give us your thoughts on the poll and we'll show the results at the end. Sorry, JoEllen, you were saying.
No, I think that the emotional support is probably one of the key things, because women have been belittled for being too emotional.
Yeah.
And for not kind of manning up and behaving like their male counterparts. I would like to see support for anyone who's going through any kind of distressful or stressful time in their life.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, women have become adept at repressing a lot of their natural self.
Yeah.
Because they want to fit in and they want to progress. Most people who are in the kind of jobs that we're talking about want a career.
Yeah.
And I like the analogy with the Queen. If we all had that kind of support, I'm sure that
we could get 70 years in.
But I do think that if you look at it on a basic level, that we don't have the kind of family structures we used to, where there was more support, just familial support, in the family.
Yeah.
So we do have to get support from outside, and we should be encouraging those who ask for it or who say, I'm not able to cope with this, or I'd like this. Can we help? Can we give the kind of support that would allow women to feel free enough to ask for it?
Yeah.
I say it's not a catch-22. We want to open the communication so that women feel able to say, that meeting I attended, I felt diminished.
Yeah.
I felt that people were shouting over me, and being able to talk to a manager about what that was like and what the experience was like.
Yeah. And that comes back to culture, doesn't it? That comes back to a culture of non-judgment and propelling and propagating protected characteristics into a meeting or a work environment, because we can't take it for granted that just by saying we're going to do it, that it's done. It's about having managers who are trained, who can overcome subjective mindsets and subconscious biases, unconscious biases, I think they're called. And, God, JoEllen, I hear it all the time, even now. Oh, well, she's just, we're not hiring. And obviously that's illegal, but you still hear people say, she's going to go off and have kids. And it's like,
and yes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing about celebrating the fact that women will have children. Yeah. That's how we propagate the species.
Yeah. And queens of the future.
And if we want zero population growth, then okay, fine. No women have babies. But really, we want to celebrate the fact that you said this, sorry, I'm going to step back a bit. When we were talking before we began about that there has to be an equal understanding of supporting men. So there is something around educating men, but also I believe that we should have a better, paternity leave process as well.
Yeah, and the law is fair now. Men get as much time as women, but the uptake of that is something like under 5%.
Exactly.
So it's the expectation of an organization of their men, and we can't create a shift for women unless we create the shift for men at the same time.
Yes,
I do think
I was trying to say.
And I do think the pandemic has helped in that. Somebody spoke about being a working mum. I was watching daytime TV once, and that somebody used the phrase "my son is a working dad," and the presenter said, "Oh, it's interesting that you bring up working dad. We don't usually have that term. We have a working mum term, but actually these days, dads. This is the generation of the most involved fathers ever."
Yeah.
Right. And so for us to shift the paradigm and to create, to remove judgment, to remove expectation, and just, give people the opportunity to grow their life as well as their career, businesses will, benefit so much, in loyalty and work rate. And
it is interesting. The question you started with was, has the pandemic been positive? Well, of course, you already mentioned that the bulk of home care, child care during the pandemic, schooling, homeschooling still fell on the women.
Yeah.
And we know that domestic abuse increased, so there are a lot of negatives. On the other hand, I do think that just the idea that I can say, I want to work from home most of this week, or I need to be able to take my daughter to her ballet class, or whatever or my son to this ballet class, whatever it is, I think that there have been more opportunities created, and it's more rigid. But again, we go back to the fact that good women, and that's why I want to help support women in terms of their self-belief, good women can just leave.
Yeah.
I think that, as you say, the Great Resignation, I don't have to be stuck in this dead end,
underappreciated, invisible to my needs. I just feel that it's really key that employers, whatever they're doing in the equality and diversity space, they check in with how they're supporting their women first, because the work has started, the mindset is shifting, but there's so much more to go. So talking of what we're planning to cover for the next 20 to 30 minutes, we are talking about how to support women to obtain a sustainable and desirable work-life balance. We're also going to then think about how can businesses facilitate women's fertility treatment, and then how can we, as an employer, how can employers create a balanced workplace to encourage women to step into senior roles without sacrificing their home life. So 3 very different elements of this conversation. So I think we've already started to talk about, offering and obtaining a sustainable, desirable work-life balance. Number 1, got to get the men involved, because there's still 100% of the job to do at work and at home. If you're not doing it, and somebody else has to step in. But I've got some other ideas around that as well, and I think, and I hope I don't sound sexist saying this, but I think generally women, pandemic being an example, do see and drive the home environment. So could employers, rather than give women different benefits, could they offer a concierge service? Could they offer a life assistant? Could there be a different way to give women headspace and time back?
It's very interesting. Years and years ago, when I was still living in New York, so this is more than 40 years ago, there was an organization that was created, and I think something similar here, called Wives for Women. And
I love that.
And the idea of you get it right away. Yeah. How many things that wives do that men just take for granted, or women just take for granted that's going to be part of their role. So
one of the things I know that I do, and my husband doesn't have any inclination, is the amount of paperwork around my children's lives. Emails, school things, medical things, friend things. It's a full-time job.
Tell me about it. I don't have children, but I do all the paperwork in the house.
Yeah.
I fortunately live with someone, my husband, who does all the laundry, the ironing.
Yeah.
That's the area that he loves to do, and he does it well, better than I do. Not allowed near the iron. But I think that looking at things, it's really comes, how do we change the mindset?
Yeah.
How do we change the mindset that we've talked about this before, Meeta. It's a patriarchal viewpoint. So what amount of work needs to be done? Where are my goals? How do I set them? And how can I set them within the framework of what's comfortable for me to do that still achieves that? Why do I have to sit at my desk 9 to 5 or whatever it might be? Why do I have to have that particular paradigm? If I know I can accomplish X, and that's what you need X done, isn't that enough? Why do we need the old-fashioned construct?
Yeah. And, there's still an element, a contingent that want that back to the office 5 days a week. But I think the majority are opening up to this hybrid working. And I think to support women to sustain a work-life balance, and that balance isn't always in any one day or week or month, but overall, I think employers need to look at their rewards and benefits offering to make sure that there are, if female employees are putting more in, there has to be a time to get it back, that they can then get, as you said, is it a ballet recital? Is it breaks in summer when the kids are on holiday? And, I'm actually a big believer that, because women often look after the kids, their time, is limited to when they can be off. But actually, anyone in an organization should be offered that time back. Sometimes it's not to be a parent, it's to be, to take care of the elderly. So and again, if women are taking the time, then men need to get that balance as well. So really, an organization doesn't need to say this is just for women, but I think it's for managers to bring this to life, how it works. Here's our benefits. This is you standing in front of me, could be a male, could be a female. And this is how we help you on your journey to be able to sustain you and your partner, being able to have that work-life balance to achieve childcare support, looking after your elderly parents. Somebody else might have a hobby that is pressing, whatever it is. And to show that the benefits and the package and the support helps people on that journey.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, and you know, for us in the main group, we talk. You know, my favorite shape is a triangle because I think that is the strong base for anything to build on. And I talk about, you know, somebody hitting that sweet spot when they are spending a third of the time on their career, a third of their time on their family, and the most important third, themselves. And I know for me, I thought it was half me and half my work. You know, half my family, half my work, and they were the two halves of my life. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom and thought I had nothing left to give, I realized I didn't spend any time replenishing the vessel. And so our rewards and benefits reflect that. And so I think it's a very smart way for employers to be able to demonstrate that we are looking and working with you holistically, you know. And I guess until you feel the need or until you understand the pain of not doing it, people won't necessarily jump into this mindset. But it's key that employers start thinking about this future of collaborative hybrid working to keep people for the longer term.
Yes, I mean, that's what we talked about before we went live, was around retention, of wanting people, good people, to stay. And that will mean compromise. And I mean that in the best possible way, that if someone needs a particular time off or a particular thing that's happening, let's not resist that. Let's not resist it, because that isn't how it used to be done. And this pull to how it was, part of that is comfort. So it's difficult to change. It's uncomfortable to change. But what a happier place people would be at.
Yeah.
You know, rather than, oh my God, I have to go to work when something else is pressing on my mind. And that's the other thing, is that if you have something going on in your personal life, and this is male or female, and it's not being addressed and it's not out there, it's going to impact on your productivity, on your awareness, on your alertness at work. So why not get it out there? Why not have it on the table so that we could say, all right, we should be able to help you with this, or I'm so sorry, we can't. Yeah. Maybe there's a way we could support you in you finding out the solution. Yeah. But all the while that it's swallowed and kept inside, you've made a very clear boundary between work and home. And I think that is one of the things that the pandemic, in a positive way, blurred that boundary. And certainly with our clients, and I know you and I, just as I am your client, we had became a more intimate friends, had a more intimate communication because of the pandemic than we would have had. We got on before. And that is true for some of our clients as well, is that we've had more intimate, more emotional, more vulnerable conversations. And if we can continue that in the workplace, I just think it's a healthier thing. It's better for people's mental health.
Yeah. And the word I have around that also is not a non-judgmental conversation. So, you know, literally saying, look, there's no right or wrong in this conversation, you know, especially around fertility and women talking about, you know, wanting to go off and have children, wanting the time out, you know, everything can be worked out if you work it out together. And so having that, you know, and I think it's illegal to say to a woman, you know, when are you going to have children? But at the same time, surely together, an employer and an employee can have a conversation which is, well, you know, do you need support in the egg freezing and fertility space? Or, you know, is it that you want to go off and, you know, have some time off during maternity? And having a proper conversation, because they can plan as well.
You know what's interesting is we again, for those listening, we were talking about this in the prep.
We do a warm-up.
In the warm-up, we don't have any problem talking about periods and fertility and babies and stuff. It's not a conversation that a lot of men find comfortable. Yeah. And so part of our job as women is to make it more comfortable, to make it more accessible, because men get embarrassed talking about female issues and women's problems.
Some men do. Many men still do. You know, I grew up in a house of 4 men and my mum, 3 brothers, my dad and my mum. And thankfully, my brothers were pretty relaxed, and it meant I was pretty relaxed. And, this next generation, even my son and my daughters, it's much more natural to talk about all of these things. Yeah. But yes, there still are men. And I think something an organization can do is, like we have a mental health first aider or a well-being champion, let's build in women's needs and or fertility support in that as well. Yeah. So maybe if a manager doesn't feel he has the skills or is comfortable, male or female, to have that conversation and to give the employee the right level of support, let's have a champion in the organization that can actually listen and advise, and then go back and debrief with the manager and then facilitate what's needed.
Nice. I like that.
And it has to become the future, because it's an integral part of who we are, right? I just sometimes when we talk about solutions, it's difficult to believe we haven't even thought about this, or no one's doing it yet. Employee assistance programs, again, we're very much about day-to-day performance. Now we've built in the mental health and well-being. So let's build in fertility support. And, the second subject was around how can businesses facilitate women's fertility treatment? Well, one of the interesting statistics I have around rewards and benefits is that very few young people want to take medical cover because of the cost, the taxation impact on them. But an employer could instead put that budget for medical into fertility treatment. Yeah. I was looking at a statistic about, I think it was Facebook, Apple and Facebook have said that they would fund up to $20,000 worth of egg freezing to attract women into the workforce. And, small businesses can't necessarily do that. But actually what they can do is find out good reputable companies. Yeah. If they started it, they'll have people that have gone through it before so that they can coach and mentor. Put towards it. If you can't afford it all, put towards it. And have the conversation that it's okay to not be okay in the fertility space, and we want to help you. As I said, for me, it happened 20 years ago, and I had a boss who was very supportive and said, look, in that time that you're doing your fertility treatment, would you like to go to a 4-day week? I said no, but it was really good to know I could. Yeah. I was given time off to heal, time off for my well-being. I put in, look at me, I'm 25 years on, I've bought the business. I just felt so supported and aligned with the organization. And this is what businesses will get if they invest in their women through going through this.
Yeah, I think I admire organizations that have that. I mean, ours is less of an issue because we only have women.
Yes.
We have, over the years, we've just never had successful male candidates for the jobs that we have. So trainers, yes, male, but not the home team.
Yeah. And like I said, if we have females going on a fertility journey, that's all well and good. But if we have a male employee who says, hey, my partner's going through fertility, I'd like some time, then let's think about those times. So again, let's build in personal days.
Yes.
Right? Into people's
totally agree with that.
Reward packages. There's so many ways that employers can facilitate having longevity in a career, not losing skills through the door, through, not supporting their women, but also supporting men to be able to do that as well. They will get loyalty and improved work rate in abundance. Yeah. So we've got a few more minutes, about 5-10 more minutes, JoEllen, and I'd love to go on to the final part of our conversation, which is around encouraging women to step into more senior roles. Now, this is where, you said we're talking today really at organizations and women who want a career, not just doing a job and then, going home and not thinking about it. These are life-changing decisions that women are making. And again, there's only the CEO landscape for the FTSE 100 is shocking. Yeah. There's hardly any women. And it really has to come to that blip, whether it's fertility, whether it's maternity. It's taking them through that, I would say, to then show them that, if you go for that promotion, this is how we will support you. it's tricky because so many women don't even feel like they can start that conversation.
Yes, you have to start the conversation earlier, or you have to have a manager who has the conversation of what are your aspirations and supporting that, rather than let's not have the conversation, so you're not even on my radar.
Yeah.
And this goes back to my third S of self-belief, which is that I was talking to someone who had a 20-year career in one field, and she's moving to another. And she said, "Oh, I feel like a novice." And I said, "What about the 20 years you've had quite senior in what you were doing?" The gap is in your head. The gap isn't in the new career you're developing. It sits here. You have immense skills. And we just went over them, from a coaching point of view.
And what's transferable?
Connections. She just hadn't made the connections that what she did here was equally relevant here. It just was in a different guise.
Yeah.
So supporting people to develop within an organization should be easy. It's not just mentoring. It is actual hard-nosed coaching of what is it that you want. Let's set a goal for the next 6 months or the 6 months after that. How do you want to achieve this? Rather than let's just see how it goes. And there might be a pause for children or fertility treatment, which would lead to children. But actually, let's just look at the career itself that you want, rather than worrying about what might happen in between. Yes. Because then that says, oh, if I have children, I might have to take 5 years off. Yeah, you might. Okay. Yeah. That doesn't stop you having a career. Yeah. It may mean that, for the first 2 years, you got baby brain, but doesn't mean you can't be studying, can't be learning from others. All of the stuff that you, as a woman, might be putting in your own way.
Yeah.
The obstacles that you've created. So I think it's great for organizations, obviously, to support women in their development. But I think that's probably one of the biggest that has to be tackled. And then you can have the bolder conversations about, I see myself as a VP in 3 years. Now let's talk about how the organization can support me in that, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I think that's so, empowering and enlightening, which is that, as your S's of the system is there, which I think a lot of employers are starting to do. The next step is the self-belief that this is what I want, and this is how I'd like to get it. How can we work together to achieve it? This is what you will achieve as, from me in my employment. This is the benefit to the company. And I don't think females should be afraid to bring the case of the next few years to demonstrate the value exchange, to demonstrate, and even to say, if I am off, this is what I recommend should be in place.
Yes, and then it goes to the other S, which is skills. This is what I might need.
Yeah.
And this is a conversation I have with everybody in my organization. In the home team, we can offer tons of soft skills training. Yes, there may be other skills that you need outside the organization that we don't provide. Look up for a course, see what you need, present it to us, because we want to support our people getting better. And the better they are, the more confident they feel to progress within the organization.
Yeah. And I tell you, the best way for employers to encourage women to grow into senior roles is by bringing to life the story of someone that has. So yes, the best time to start this was at the conception of your business, but the next best time is now. And before you know it, you'll have a cultural framework of stories of great successes for women in your organization that have been through that journey, and make that your shop window of why women should come and work for you. And it will be so powerful, and they will then become the coaches and the mentors of the next tranche coming in.
Absolutely. Love it.
Yes. Well, we're just at the beginning of this journey, or at least of the conversation of this journey today, JoEllen. I imagine that everyone either attending today or watching this in the recording after will know where they are at the stage of this journey and what they now need to put in place to start thinking about moving it forward. And I think that's what it is. It's just wherever you are now, let's move it forward. Let's think about what else you can do to really strengthen keeping women in your organization. I love the 3 S's. So that is system, skills and self-belief. So let's make sure that your approach fulfills those 3 S's. And let's keep women doing what they do best, which is creating success and happiness.
Great. Well, I was really happy to be part of this conversation because I could talk about, I know we say that for every topic, but I think it's because you and I are successful women in business.
We're trying, yeah. And we've been through a lot in our years.
Oh boy.
So hopefully we can share some of that to help businesses and women of the future to be able to do it even easier and even better.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, JoEllen, thank you as always, and thank you to everyone attending and watching. And we look forward to seeing you next Thursday at midday. All the best. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.